You need to stop falling for this new age gym toxic culture that you constantly see a lot of the time, especially as a guy. When I say toxic gym culture, don't think that I'm talking about like just working hard or being very dedicated to the gym. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I know people try to say like nowadays that that's like super toxic and unhealthy and you have some kind of like mental disorder, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm actually talking about is all this new self-hate trends going on in the gym where you have to hate yourself in order to reach your full potential and go like ghost mode and all these like heartbreak edits, and some of them just get really really cringe and corny, and it's like, okay, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? It's like what is this? And I'm going to give you guys a few examples in a little bit, because the gym does not, like, working out and being a fit person does not mean that you have to hate yourself and do all this stuff for a temporary emotion which will give you some motivation to carry through a workout. So let me go over some of the examples I'm talking about, and I'm going to post some on the screen here. So no hate to these specific creators, it's just the ones that I found when I searched this up. Blur them out so we don't actually see their username. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. So let's go through the first example. POV, forcing myself to go hard in the gym after remembering how I sounded that night. Parentheses, I'll never be that weak again. Okay, all right. And we'll dissect these in a bit. Example number 2, never forget how she made you feel that night. With obviously the Trend Twins thing, just sad core. This one is probably the worst ones I've seen. So POV, if you're thinking about skipping the gym, remember when it slipped out and she put it back in for him. When you're mid-workout, remember you've never been enough for anyone. Okay, got it. That's what I was talking about. I'm sure you've probably seen these a lot. You have some like super sad song in the background also playing. Analyze the first one. Forcing myself to go hard in the gym after remembering how it sounded that night. So what a lot of people nowadays are starting to do is they'll use these sad emotions and like a lot of heartbreak stuff to go to the gym, which I totally get, because when you break up, usually you have all this energy and it needs to go somewhere, because if not, it's just going to stay and consume you. One thing that I've noticed a lot, especially in guys, is that we tend to always have more of a self-hate approach more than like a self-love approach when it comes to doing things. I totally get, I see where it's coming from, but you actually don't have to self-hate or self-sabotage in order to do it. So what happens is you'll evoke this emotion, which is usually some kind of self-hatred, or you'll get this emotion like sadness or anger, and then you'll harvest it. But the only main problem with it, understand that the way the brain works is anything that you tell it, it'll eventually start to believe if you say it enough times, because of the way that the subconscious mind works. Now, this is for anything that you tell it. Now, anytime that you say something and then you add emotion to it, it becomes real. So anytime that you're repeating these random things, saying you're not enough, thinking about heartbreak, adding emotion to it, it has now become that much more real. Think about when you get into an argument with someone. It could be about the stupidest thing, like debating whether Xbox or PS5, or something even dumber, like Lay's versus Pringles, something stupid like that. It becomes real once you become emotionally invested into it. Once you're emotionally invested into it, you'll actually be angry and feel passionate about it. It's become real because of that emotion added to it. So a lot of the times that's exactly what happens. You'll see it nowadays, like someone will have an amazing physique. The gym is something really healthy, should be something really healthy, should be something that you look forward to. But instead what happens is, because they added all these negative emotions, a lot of the times you'll see some of these guys are actually very depressed, very sad, very suicidal. They have a lot of anxiety. And I mean, no wonder. I mean, you're telling yourself bad stuff, adding emotions to it, and this is your basis for working out. Like, this is your base. You can actually have self-love and something that'll help you actually. You can still get amazing results, because I'm not saying you're just gonna say all this good stuff and put very mediocre work. No, work very hard in the gym, but just make sure that you're also still saying positive things. Like, think about the highest version that you want to be, the ideal version that you want to be. Think of yourself in a light manner. So you can do things, tell yourself that you can do it, that you're great, that you're all this good stuff, and then put in the work to actually back that up. And that's going to be so much more helpful and beneficial than telling yourself all these bad, negative things that are not healthy in any way, shape, or form, and then using that to build muscle. It's like, guys, like you've seen a lot of the chicks, they do a lot of the stuff that we should also be doing. There's nothing wrong or nothing cringe or nothing lame about just actually being kind to yourself, because you are the only person that you have the world with you. It's always going to be just you and yourself. At any point in time, you're always going to be with yourself. So make sure you're kind to yourself. And there's nothing lame or weak or anything. Some of the best, most kindest, strongest, most successful people are kind to themselves. And fed this lie that you have to have this, like everything needs to be hard and rough, and you need to have this self-talk to get there, and that's just not the case. You still do have to put in the work. You just don't have to you don't have to get fueled by these methods to accomplish that. The worst one I've seen recently is like, at this point, you're just, at what point okay, let me read it again. In case you're thinking about skipping the gym, remember when it slipped out and she put it back in for him. How do I even begin with this? So let's start off with, at what point, let's break it down and say it out loud. Because a lot of times when you say things out loud, you kind of hear it for how it truly sounds. Because a lot of the times you're scrolling, you read this in your head and it's got like a cool song in the background. You're like, oh yeah, I know what you mean. I was going to skip legs today, but you know, because I saw this post, like, dude, that got me amped up to work out. It's like, okay, at what point did it get to the point, like, especially in workout culture, because it's not always been like this, but it's just more recently with these trends. And I get it, you get a lot of views and stuff for posting this, feeding off the emotions of troubled young men. So what point does it become where, in order for you to lift a weight that's going to then tear the muscles in your body so that when it heals, the muscles will grow back bigger, what point in order to do that do you have to imagine a girl you like or an ex-partner having relations with another man and going into that much detail for you to get the motivation to lift the weights? Like, just really think about that and say it out loud, and think about how lame and dumb and almost like it's starting to get into the cuck area. And it's like, at what point does it become too far? You know what I mean? Stay far away from this kind of content. No hate to the specific creators, but yeah, you don't want that kind of negativity. And why are you thinking about that when you're at the gym? You should be thinking about getting bigger and focusing and doing other things, not thinking about ex-partners and all that stuff. Because like I said, again, whatever you think about, you become. So if you're thinking about this constantly and then you're adding emotion to it, that's going to make it so much more worse. And the cool thing about the mind is you can use that positively. You think about it positively and you have an emotion attached to it that's so strong, in a positive sense, in the area you want to go. It works the same way. You just have to choose which way you want it to go. You're mid-workout, and remember, you've never been enough for anyone. Like, dude, no, this is so lame. Like, I'm telling you guys, like, look, at the end of the day, I'm not your dad. I'm not here to force you into what kind of content you want to consume or not. But I'm just telling you, you might actually get some decent results, actually. Because you'll still have the emotions to work out and have the fit body. And these guys have great physiques, don't get me wrong. But the thing is, like, this is, again, why you're seeing so many guys that have these physiques and they're still miserable on the inside. It's because of what they're constantly telling themselves and evoking and adding the emotion to, and it's starting to flow out. So be careful not to fall into this workout gym culture. Yeah, be careful not to fall for this stuff. I mean, there's plenty of good stuff online for you to get motivation through. It doesn't always have to be self-negative talk. I know it's very common for this stuff to happen, but just go ahead and start thinking about all these great athletes, all these great bodybuilders. They're not always like that. I mean, there's a select few that have that mindset. I think that's why it's becoming so popular. But just learn to have some self-love and actually just be nice to yourself. Still put in the work, because you can't just be nice to yourself and expect everything to happen. That's not the way it works. You have to have some kind of action to go with it and really focus and work hard and lock in. But dude, it should be fun. It's the gym. Like, it's supposed to add to your life, not just, cause all that junk that we just talked about, like the super lame motivational stuff that we've been seeing lately. Hope that helps.